Good morning and welcome to another rambling chat session coming to you live from beautiful downtown Crestline in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California's Inland Empire, which happens to be the counties of San Bernardino and Riverside. Today in history. Well, I forget exactly which politician it was, but he was giving a speech to the veterans of our armed forces on September 7. And he said, on this day, blah, 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 Pearl Harbor and all that, World War II. Well, no, Pearl Harbor was attacked on December 7, 1941, not September. By the way, that politician was a Republican, so we can't blame that one on the Democrats. There's plenty to blame on the Democrats anyway. What else happened on this day in history? In 1978, Georgy Markov was murdered. This Bulgarian writer and dissenter had left Bulgaria in 1969 and was working at the BBC in London when he was murdered. 1977 was the signing of the treaty to give the Panama Canal to Panama for, get this, $1. Who was president in 77? Let's see. I don't want to blame it on Reagan if it was somebody else. Might have been Carter. Let's see. Yep, Jimmy Carter. One of his many mistakes. Now the canal pretty much belongs to China. In 1940, the German Blitz over London, the bombing of the city, including civilian buildings, almost all civilians in London, in 1940 began on September 7. In 1930, I gotta tell this device to shut up. In 1930, on September 7, the Tasmanian tiger was declared extinct. Okay. Of course, in 4 days, we have September 11. Most people know what that is. 9/11, the day the planes crashed into the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. Where will our president be? At some memorial service? No, he'll be in Alaska, probably telling them, no, you cannot drill for oil. Oil is evil. I'll tell you what is evil. Demanding that we give up the cheapest and most efficient sources of energy that we have before coming up with a suitable replacement. Solar works when the sun is shining. Wind works when the wind is blowing, unless the wind is blowing too hard and then they have to stop the windmills so they won't break. And our options for energy storage to use when there's no sunshine and no wind will last only a few hours. And as we saw in Texas not too long ago, the windmills froze because it was cold. And they had blackouts, long-term blackouts all over Texas. And it was cold and they couldn't heat their homes because, oh, natural gas is evil. You have to use electric heaters. Uh-huh. Right. Of all the sources of energy that we have, the cleanest is, other than nuclear, which is, of course, evil, is natural gas. Most of the exhaust from burning natural gas is water. And it doesn't have much exhaust when it burns. Not much at all. But we're supposed to give that up and use electricity that is produced by burning coal. How does that add up? Well, some power plants burn diesel oil, some burn natural gas, most burn coal. It sucks. And this is on my mind today because it's cold on this mountain in Southern California. And the state of California has made energy so expensive that I really can't afford to use much heat. So I bundle up. Sweater, jacket, wool cap. It isn't really wool, it's polyester or some other synthetic. But generically, wool can refer to things that are not actual wool. Like the synthetic fleece lining of my jacket. I think it might be actual wool, but it's mixed with a synthetic. What else is going on in the world? Maui, the city of Lahaina in particular, but other places as well. Every place where the working class lives seems to be utterly and totally destroyed, burned to ashes. And the latest conspiracy theory is that Oprah's private fire department used up all the water to protect her property, and that's why the firefighters in Lahaina had no water. Another conspiracy theory is that it was microwave radiation, so things with water like green plants and trees were the first to go because the microwaves heated up the water and cooked them from the inside. And it is weird that so many cars burned so hot that their wheels melted. That is weird. I don't know what to make of it. They show one burned out car sitting in the middle of a field full of dry grass, and the grass did not burn. That's weird too. Oh, hi, Jorge. Let's see. Buenos dias. Jorge is Spanish equivalent of George. I don't know how to say good morning in Spanish, only in German. Guten Morgen. Well, let's see, good would be bueno. I don't remember what morning is in Spanish. I wish we had clubs where we could practice speaking foreign languages, but so many Americans don't bother to learn another language. It's a sin and it should be a crime. Yes, many, many millions of people around the world have learned English, but we ought to return that compliment by learning at least one foreign language. It really does make you more intelligent. Morning is dia? Oh, so buenos dias is good morning? I thought it was good day. Thank you, Jorge. And good afternoon is buenos tardes. I can't trill the R. Tardes. See, I'm tongue-tied. I have trouble with the R in Spanish, the R. And when there's a double R, I'm lost. R. But I try. So I do not laugh at people from Asia who cannot pronounce R in English. They don't really have that sound. It's unusual for them. Even though many have learned French because the French had colonies in Vietnam and other countries in Asia. When I tried to learn French, I had a tutor and she was from Vietnam. Good morning, Witta. Anyway, if you want to be smarter, learn a language. There's plenty of free YouTube videos. For me, I thought Spanish was the easiest, but it was even easier when I studied German. Well, anyway, we're coming up on 9/11, September 11, the anniversary of the planes crashing into the towers. And our president will be in Alaska. Not at a memorial for 9/11. This is the guy who said no comment when he was asked about his thoughts on the fire in Maui. What is wrong with our politicians? Are they trying to ruin their own reputations? Or maybe Biden didn't hear the question and just assumed it was about something else and said no comment. First, he didn't go to Maui because he was on vacation at the beach in Delaware. Then he went from there to his other vacation in Lake Tahoe. And when people raised a stink, he went to Maui for 6 hours and then went back to his vacation in Lake Tahoe. And the people of Maui really protested against him. So he decided to send each family, not even each individual, but each family, $700 one time. And that wouldn't go far in California, and it twice as high as in California. These people are homeless, and you can't rent a room for 1 month for $700. Many of them are in hotels temporarily, but that's temporary. And apparently, someone in charge is waiting for us to forget about Maui so they can just buy up their land for pennies on the dollar and build more mansions. And they want to have a 15-minute city run by AI. They were planning that before the fire. This is sacred land. It's the city of the ancient Hawaiian kingdom, the capital city where the king and later the queen held court. And they want to pave it over and fill it with high density housing where people have to have permission to go to the grocery store. AI will decide, artificial intelligence. No, you don't need to go to the store today. The computer says you don't. Well, hi, L. Freeman. And then Oprah and Dwayne The Rock Johnson want us to donate to their fund. Well, it isn't working. They have less than $5,000 in donations. The real charity, Lahaina Fire Fund, has $1 million, and they're giving it away as fast as they can to churches and other nonprofits and individual fire survivors who need help and have GoFundMe who need the money. Oh, his channel on YouTube is Hawaii. Start a new channel or change the title because his boss fired him because some troll on TikTok started talking trash about him. He's just trying to help. He lives there, for crying out loud. Not in Lahaina, but on Maui. And he's helping people. They don't have or FEMA, which is from handing out food and blankets and pillows and such. It's like, no, we're FEMA and we're in charge and we don't authorize you. A lot of people are suggesting we take the money that would go to Ukraine and giving it to Maui instead. But there are tons of questions. All the fires start in Hawaii all the time, but this one was unusual. On Maui, and none of their properties, landscaping and this, that, and the other. How does Oprah have enough water to have her own personal farm producing fruits and vegetables for her when actual farmers don't have an island? And why was there no water to fight that fire? Did all these rich people went dry almost immediately? All kinds of questions. Why they didn't sound the siren alarms? wrong way. I imagine if a siren alerted me and I stepped outside and smelled smoke, I would not think it was a tsunami. That was suitable for even. I believe just might be selling the weapons we send them in all around the world, and a lot of it is right here in America. I don't trust the Republicans or the Democrats. They put on a show for us. Oh, look what we're doing, but nothing ever happens. They need to grow a pair and take action. So what if you don't get reelected? So what if your friends in DC won't have a drink with you? They'll shun you at the bar and the restaurant. So what? You don't have a hard life. And how do all these senators end up worth millions on a senator's salary? It's a little over 100,000 a year. That doesn't buy $1 million mansion. Try raising a family, let's say 2 parents and 2 children on 100,000 a year, and see how far you get. You'll be driving a Ford or a Chevy, not a Cadillac or a Mercedes. And you'll be screaming at the price of gas and the price of food. Well, at least you can buy cheap plastic goods and clothing from slave labor in China. When I was a new mother and Phil made $20,000 in 1 year, we had made it to the upper middle class. $20,000 a year now is barely enough to support one person with no children and no spouse. And I don't make that much. It's horrible. And even, say, lower middle class in 1973 or 4, if you made 10 or 12,000 a year, you were lower middle class. Now you're up below the poverty line, even if there's only one person in your family. And if you have a child or two, 20,000 a year is below the poverty line. And during the the oil crisis, when OPEC cut production and raised prices, gasoline went up to 75 cents a gallon, and I didn't know if I could afford it. Now it's close to $7 for regular in California and probably elsewhere like New York. And don't even talk about Hawaii. Everything has to be shipped there, and it's far away across the ocean. Yeah, insider trading. Well, you see, the people who make the laws in our federal government have written the laws in such a way that when they do it, it is not a crime. But if you or I were trying to do it, oh no, you'd be in prison for sure. And they'd take everything you own, ill-gotten gains and all that. Oh yeah, $1 million book deal for a book that nobody buys or reads. Oh, there's a website L. Freeman recommends, CPI inflation calculator. Yeah, like in 2022, the government said inflation was around 8.5%. But everything at the grocery store costs twice as much, and in many cases, there's less of it in the package. And of all things, there's a shortage of chicken in the grocery store. Oh, what does my phone want? I don't know. I'm not going to answer it. They can talk to my answering machine. Um, you see, during um, an outbreak of the bird flu, thousands and millions of chickens were killed to stop the epidemic among chickens. Mostly the ones that lay eggs. So eggs became harder to find and cost twice as much. At this point, I think they cost 4 times as much as they did before the bird flu. L. Freeman says the birds are on strike, pending a new kind of chicken feed and red ants. That's what they want. They'll eat bugs for sure. Yeah, well, so, and then the price of chicken feed went up so high that they were slaughtering their all kinds of chickens to sell them because they couldn't feed them anymore. So now there's a chicken shortage. The weirdest thing, I was at the grocery store yesterday. I had a ride. In the Foster Farms aisle, which is always pretty full of chicken and stuff. There were wings, there were drumsticks, there were breasts, no thighs, no chicken thighs. None of these chickens had thighs. All they had were legs and wings and breasts. And called Chicken George. That's a good one, Freeman. Well, the thigh is the best part of the chicken. It stays moist when it's cooked. Drumsticks and breasts tend to dry out, especially if you overcook them. Legs, the drumsticks, yeah, they're dark meat. Some people don't like dark meat, but the problem I have is that there really isn't that much meat on the drumstick. The way they've been managing chicken reproduction to have bigger breasts has caused their legs to get smaller. Uh, the drumstick used to be my favorite part until I discovered the thighs. They're kind of in between. They're closer to white meat than to dark, but they retain moisture. And if you get them with the skin on, you can cook them without any oil in the pan. You start them skin down, and their own fat will melt and coat the pan. Well, anyway, I didn't see any chicken livers. And I like liver and I need it for good nutrition. Oh well, next time, I guess. In the summer, a lot of people buy the chicken livers for bait when they go fishing. But at this time, I think there's just a shortage. They're using things that they flash froze, and stored, and putting it on the market now. Hmm. Anyway, whatever. I don't want to think about what they feed to cows. I try to get pasture raised eggs. Apparently, they're very popular. They often disappear from the shelves. And you can't trust free range to be anything but they get to wander around in a big warehouse where they're shoulder to shoulder and can barely move. Oh, L. Freeman says greasy pork parts make better fish bait. Okay. Well, I don't fish in our lake because I don't really care for freshwater fish. I like the ones from the ocean. Oh, and you can't get cod. Well, you can, sort of. But see, the cod in the Pacific Ocean are disappearing primarily because of California's crazy water management. Salmon and cod and trout are suffering. Uh, you can get Atlantic cod, but for an outrageous price. I checked out a package in the frozen section. It had 4 cod fillets, $30. And so I went ahead and got the, beer battered cod, and well, no, beer battered fish, I should say, from a good company. But it isn't cod, it's pollock, which they claim it's just as good, but it isn't. It really isn't as good as cod. And my favorite fish, sea bass, forget it. You can't find it. And if you do, you have to mortgage your house to buy it. There is one fly in the entire house, so it buzzes by my face. Yeah, that's another thing. Fish are disappearing in part because China has these factory fishing. They aren't boats, they're huge, huge ships that just scoop up everything. And their people are so hungry they'll eat anything. I don't blame them. Oh, but they're banning the Fukushima fish, which it says, because of the radioactive water. Frankly, I'm not worried about the Fukushima radioactive water. When I was a small child, our little bedside alarm clocks had glow in the dark paint on them so you could read the numbers and see the hands in the dark. They had to quit doing that because the women who painted them were getting cancer. They used little watercolor brushes and they would wet them with their tongues, and they started getting cancer on their tongues from the radium in the paint. Stinking fly, go bother the cat. You cats are useless. You're supposed to kill flies. Well, anyway, Um, we even had little pictures to hang on the wall, and those pictures glowed in the dark. Um, they didn't harm the people using them, but they did harm the people who were painting them. Oh, there's a Taishan reactor outside of Hong Kong that's leaking. Whoo-hoo. Yeah. Well, think the Love Canal and why am I forgetting that one in they said it was in the Soviet Union. It was actually in Ukraine. The reactor that blew up or imploded or whatever it did. I have not seen Serpentza's YouTube channel. Oh, she's asking L. Freeman. Well, these environmentalists who want zero emissions do not want nuclear, even though it has zero emissions. And it can be made safely if the government will quit demanding that each reactor have its own unique design instead of using tried and true methods that worked elsewhere. And California is so stupid, our nuclear reactors are all sitting on earthquake faults. At least they're shutting down San Onofre, one reactor at a time. But there are others. Oh, it's rebar, reinforcement bar. Yeah, Witta reminds me that they're putting painted rocks on painted rebar to fake out inspectors to believe that there are fields of plants in China because they're required to grow so many plants, but they don't have the resources to actually grow plants. You know, water, fertilizer, that kind of stuff, good soil. Let's see. L. Freeman says I should see Kirk Sorensen. He has found an old style of nuke reactor that was legislated out of existence for all the wrong reasons. Thorium, molten salt. Yeah, there are a number of people developing sodium reactors that use ordinary table salt, and we do have plenty of that. The oceans are full of it, and most of the deserts are as well, because the deserts used to be either lakes or oceans. But they aren't approved. And yeah, it involves radioactivity too, but it's basically salt. Sodium reactors are bad, L. Freeman says. Never get it wet. Okay. I don't know a lot about sodium reactors. I've just heard about it and started looking into it. The thorium molten salt doesn't have those problems. Okay. Well, we'll see. The way we create prosperity is with innovation, and our bloated bureaucracy is committed to the status quo. They don't want innovation. They don't want new ways of doing things. They don't want new tools to get the job done. And we're on course for major man-made disasters like blackouts and food shortages. There isn't really a shortage of food. There's a shortage of transportation to get the food to the people. You never get sodium reactors wet. That's why the Russians used them in submarines. Oh, well, I'm not terribly afraid of Russia or China because I'm more afraid of our own government. It's full of thousands, maybe millions of people who were not elected. They can't be fired. And they think that they're little petty rulers who get to tell us what to do, and to some extent, they're right. They tell teachers what they can teach. They tell people, ordinary people, what appliances they can have in their homes. Yeah, the people of Russia are good people. Their leaders suck worse than ours. That's true, Freeman. But we have more leaders. At least they're pretty much under the thumb of one guy, name of Putin. I don't believe our president is in charge of anything. Yes, Weta, the federal government is the largest employer in the U.S. And what does Congress do? Oh, we're going to investigate. We're threatening to investigate. I should start watching C-SPAN and see if things are on C-SPAN. All I get is clips. Will Freeman says, I think that's U2, UTU. I don't know what that means. But, oh, and if we don't get the documents, we're going to investigate some more. Dang fly. Get off of me. Go find a cat to eat you. Stinking fly. I'm going to have to use the nuclear option. Let's see. Cover these up. Light. It is. Oh, and one trick, whether you use a spray can or a fly swatter, when a fly takes off, it jumps backward and then flies forward. So you know which way it's going to move. We're ruled by some guy named U2. I don't know. We're ruled by something. It ain't Biden. Why are the cats not chasing the fly? Yeah, my cat would go crazy for a fly, but I guess the fly isn't getting their attention. Now I'm breathing in Lysol. Oh well, it'll kill any lung infection I might happen to have. Now, Tora definitely would chase the fly, but she's across the room taking a nap. Okay, what do I think about Michael Sala and Elena Danan? Well, I don't know, Jorge. I don't know enough about them. Let's see who Michael Sala is. That name's familiar, but I can't think of anything specific. Oh, strange. He's written a lot of books. The Secret Space Program, Rise of the Red Dragon, Exopolitics, Antarctica's Hidden History, the U.S. Navy's Secret Something. Ooh, yeah, that's why his name sounds familiar. But I really haven't read any of his books. I think I said Putin, L. Freeman. I don't know. Not you too. L. Freeman says we're ruled by Soros and Klaus Schwab and the rest of the starred out words from both the WEF and the rest of the Sun Valley Conference. Well, we're ruled by huge multinational corporations and have their headquarters in the U.S. For example, Bud Light was an iconic American brand, Budweiser, which includes Bud Light. It was taken over in a hostile takeover when this European beverage company bought up a bunch of stock and took over. Now they're considering selling it back to the family who owned it. I've forgotten their name, their last name. It isn't Budweiser. Because of all the brouhaha in their recent advertising and decline in sales. They've dropped from number 1 to number 6 in, quote, American beers. Based on yearly, annual sales. Not just week to week or month to month, but year to year. Oh, L. Freeman says Belgian beers are great. I don't drink beer. I, something about it does not agree with me. I think it might be the hops. Yeah, I've been told many times that Budweiser is horse piss, or worse, or you might as well drink water. Now, the one thing about Budweiser, I did manage to drink it once when that was all I had available. I wasn't at home. Budweiser is made from rice. Other beers are made from barley. Sticks the camera. And that might be why it's so mild. El Freeman says I'm not missing much by not drinking beer. Zapper therapy? Oh, yeah, we call it TENS. Oh, um, TENS stands for something, but has a battery and 4 pads. Was it? No, I think it's 2 pads. Whatever. Little pads that you stick on the skin and then it zaps you. I have one of those. I haven't used it recently. That's why I can't remember whether it's 2 pads or 4 pads. I think it's 4. El Freeman says in Belgium they have a raspberry beer called framboise. Framboise. It should be framboise because there's an E after the S. Oh well. I'm not French. I only learned French in school and I didn't learn it very well. Yeah, framboise basically means raspberry, but they often use it to talk about strawberries. Same word. The French love to confuse us gullible Americans. I once went to a little, actually fast food place, but their theme was all French. So I had and ordered the pomme frite. Well, pomme is apple, but their pomme frite was French fries. Potatoes are pomme de terre, earth apples. What are you chewing, huh? Tora, there's a fly. Go get it. Go get the fly, Tora. Let's see. See if my tens is around here. There it is. I have to put the battery in it. First, I had to get a battery. Now I have to put the battery in it. Pads. Time to buy more pads. That's my last batch. And the gadget where the battery goes and the wires to attach the gadget to the pads. Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah, it's 4. You use all 4 pads every time. Yeah. It worked so well when I first started using it, the tens, that I went ahead and bought one for my brother because he was having back pain, muscle pain in his back too. Tora, knock it off. You have to say hi to your adoring fans. That isn't Tora. There she is. Come on. Ooh. Come on, hold still, will you? Say hi to your adoring fans, Tora. Yeah. Pretty kitty. Kitten paw. The attack of the kittens. That was Patches. Patches needs a new loving home. I can't keep all these cats. Get off of me. Get the fly, Tora. You too, Patches. Go kill the fly. It's bad. Yesterday I caught Tora napping with two of the three kittens. Number 3 kitten is still very timid, but Patches is adoptable, and one of the twins probably will be soon. The third one, I hold out no hope. I'm probably going to keep her. They're all spayed now. They will not make more kittens. But they sure do eat a lot. Oh, you want me to try Bach flower essences? I don't know. I've decided to be stoic and not emotional. The kittens found Tora's toy box. They love her toys. Get off of me, you fly. I'm just gonna make my hat smell like Lysol. That ought to keep the fly away for a while. Ah. Oh, I should talk about Philip K. Dick. I did a lot of that last week. Oh man. Gotta find hand lotion. My cuticles are dry and ouchy. You know, the top of your fingernail where it's still alive. The tissues are growing. Okay, that's better. Oh, you want to talk about me too, huh? Oh, Freeman says I'm interesting enough. Well, I'm definitely unconventional. Yeah, you always want to know about Phil. Well, recently, a fan who bought one of the books that Phil signed to me sent me an image. Phil had written a poem, and as usual, his handwriting is nearly illegible, but it was on the flyleaf of the British edition of Dangerous Visions, which has Phil's short story, The Faith of Our Fathers. And I'm looking at it now. Phil wrote, "To the girl with dark hair who loves me. Years, many, oh dear, party-colored years. Some have crept on and some have flown. Since first before me fell those tears I never could see fall alone. Years not so many are to come, years not so varied, when from you one more will fall, when, carried home, I see it not nor hear adieu. and then he signed it. Oh, PUD. I clicked the wrong thing. There, here we go. I'm back. Oh, Freeman was only 12 years old when Phil was taken away from us. I still wonder what went on in that hospital, but I could see that his health had been declining drastically in a short period of time. He wouldn't take his medication for blood pressure because it made him feel depressed. He was used to being amped up all the time, as if he were wired, but it was just natural. And when he was calmed down, he thought he was depressed. But the state of medicine back then wasn't as good as now. And, you know, the medications were probably not all that good for him, but they kept him alive. Well, anyway, I can still picture him walking around in the living room or sitting in his favorite chair. Well, he wasn't actually depressed when he stayed in bed. He was actually ill. He didn't have the flu, but we didn't know what it was. Turns out he had a problem with his pancreas. His children have it too. It's hereditary. So he would have an attack of pancreatitis and call it the flu. I hate flies. There's only one fly, and it has to buzz bomb me. But he really was not feeling well. It wasn't actually the flu, but he was sick. And frankly, if he did not take a nap, he was in worse shape because he didn't sleep well through the night. He also had real bad case of COPD. He snored something awful, and nowadays they would put him on a CPAP machine to help him breathe while he's sleeping. But we didn't have that then. But sometimes in the night I had to wake him up because the snoring was so bad he sounded like he was in distress, and he probably was. So I might have saved his life by waking him up. And when you're sleep deprived, as he was, between being constantly agitated and running around and then not sleeping well, it takes a toll on your health. Plus, he was born premature in 1928 at home, not in the hospital. And premature babies don't live as long as full-term babies. And premature babies from 1928 had a significantly shortened lifespan. Of course, we both lived in that house, Freeman, but not the one where he died. I was moving in. I was I had brought in most of my son's toys, and I was bringing in, some of my things when he suddenly died, and I didn't have a key. He hadn't given me a key yet. And while that was going on, someone stole that book with the poem he wrote for me. Oh, the one I have now? No. I wanted Phil to move up to the mountains with me, but I had not moved up here yet, and he wasn't sure about living in the mountains. But the nice, dry, clean air up here might have been good for him. So, anyway, that book that someone stole eventually ended up in the hands of someone who values it. And I'm okay with that. I'm ready to let go of things because I have memories. And they're more precious than things. Besides, I'm getting old. And I want to downsize as much as possible. Although I'm keeping most of my books. L. Freeman, remind me to make a list of things that I need to bring with me when I get the TARDIS working and go back to 1972. 72, what you want is a bottle of Jack Daniels. No tequila. He got the worst hangover in the universe from tequila sunrises. Never touched tequila again. Well, not quite true. He did once in a while have a margarita, but he mostly ate the salt and didn't really finish the drink. Bottle of Jack Daniels and a good cigar, maybe a Cuesta Ray, or if you can get it, a Cuban cigar. We can't get them in the US, but I'm told that you can get them in Canada. We have an embargo on Cuban products. Oh my, Tora's playing with one of the kittens. When they first started coming into the house, I didn't bring them in, they came in. She would chase them out and hiss and growl, and now she's playing with them. Did he like macanudos? I don't know what those are, Freeman. But his favorite meal was probably a good steak with baked potato. Let's see, one time we went to a restaurant called Reuben's. It was fine dining. I don't remember what he ordered. It slipped my mind. It was something with scallops, but I ordered an artichoke stuffed with crab. And it was an artichoke, and the crab was in the most delicious cheese sauce. I had never had crab before. Oh, I know what Phil ordered. It was one of those giant mushrooms. And when we went home, and he had what was probably gallstones, he thought that he'd accidentally eaten a bad mushroom. He went to the emergency room, and because he thought he'd been poisoned, and it turned out to be gallstones. It was very painful. He hugged his chest so hard that he collapsed his lung. It hurt so bad. Okay, Macanudos is a brand of cigar. He'd probably smoke it. A book on contract law? How to license your $1 million idea? Sounds like a scam to sell books. Role-playing games. Phil might have liked Dungeons and Dragons. At one point, my son was a dungeon master in the game before it was on computers. We had the actual game with the board and all the literature and the funny dice and everything. But he's moved on, doing other things. He was writing a novel, my son, but life got in the way, which happens to many of us, including me. But I am still struggling with and wrestling with the exegesis. My water's empty. Let me go fill it. I'll be right back. Hi, Tora. Are you my good kitty? Kill that fly. Kitty catties. Are you a good kitty? Okay. Phil wrote about switching from wine to beer. Well, he developed gout in his jaw, and the doctor told him that wine would make it worse. So he would drink a beer once in a while, but in his last few years, he switched to single malt scotch. Scotch is an amazing liquor. What you do, you put it in a brandy snifter and you sniff it. You breathe in the fumes and you sip it. You don't just glug it, you sip. It's amazing. It's almost like perfume, but it tastes good. Do I think John Kennedy Jr. is still alive? Oh, Lord. Let's see. Is Carrie Cassidy from Project Camelot, is that the guy or the woman? I think that's the guy. He thinks JFK Jr. is still alive. I suppose it could be, but people still think they see Elvis, only he hasn't aged and he'd be like 110 years old now. The woman. Okay, I don't put much stock in anything she says. She's gone off the edge of the cliff, jumped into the deep end of woo woo. That's why the guy parted ways with her. She believes everything she's told and doesn't do enough investigation. That's the neighbors, not my problem. I mean, even when it comes to Phil, I don't believe everything he told me. Oh, maybe it's my delivery. I'm gonna, well, if it is, they'll come to the door. My no parking sign is supposed to be delivered yesterday, but it isn't here yet. I have no clue. Anyway, when it came to cigars, he liked a cigar that was not too fat, but not too skinny. I kind of enjoyed the Cuesta-Rey 95, but not every day, only special occasions. Humph. Oh well. He bought me a cookbook because I really was a lousy cook. Mom never taught me anything. I keep getting calls from the same number that I don't recognize, and they can talk to my answering machine. Oh, Freeman bought two more of my books, Life on the Edge of Reality and dot dot dot. Now, the last section of My Life on the Edge of Reality is a fiction. It's a story that I wrote about some dreams and that I had and some real life experiences, but it's fiction. So if you skip to the end and go, what the heck? It's because it isn't my biography. It's fiction. It's a story. Do I think Stephen King is an Illuminati? The Darkening of the Light. Excellent. Surrealist fiction. Um, I think Stephen King is a terrible writer. He wouldn't know a sentence if it bit him on the nose. And he writes a lot of unnecessary filler just to make his books longer, as if more words means better. For example, you don't need to begin in the morning when the man gets out of bed and starts shaving his face, unless it's relevant to the plot, and it isn't. I forget which book that was, but I started reading it and just gave up. One of the first things they teach us in creative writing is don't start with the character waking up in the morning and getting out of bed, unless it's relevant to the story. Yeah, I saw the email, Freeman, but I have not opened it. You disagreed with me on Stephen King. Oh, well, The Stand, that is a great book and a great movie. But I can't watch the movie. I'm the kind who goes, is it over? Is it over? With my eyes covered up. But the best he ever wrote was not a full length novel, it was Stand By Me. I didn't like that song until they used it for the movie. What you doing, kitty cat? Oh, yeah, patty paws. kitten. Which movie wasn't so good? The Stand, or it must be you, or Stand by Me? You must be talking about The Stand. There was a movie involving a gorilla who was able to talk, but yeah, The Stand. I think it was it called Congo? Something like that. These researchers had a gorilla that knew sign language, and they hooked up all these gadgets on her so that when she did her sign language with her hands, it would speak the words. And it's a great movie, but even though I wouldn't call it a masterpiece, I thought it was great. But in one particular scene, I'm in the theater sitting beside my brother going, "Is it over? Is it over?" Because these bad gorillas were killing people and pulling out their eyes. Witta used to like Stephen King's short stories. Yeah, I think he might have been I definitely was a better story writer. L. Freeman says, yes, that was Congo. Michael Crichton's Congo. Oswald, you're pushing the envelope there, but I'll leave it up. Hi, Oswald. Anyway, L. Freeman is reading David Gerald's When Harley Was One. Okay, I haven't read any of David Gerald, but one time Phil bought a treble from him, a treble for me. We were at the one and only convention where we went together in Los Angeles in 1972. And David Gerald, who wrote the Star Trek screenplay or script, TV script, about the trouble with tribbles, he was selling tribbles, these little stuffed fake fur things. And Phil bragged that I had karate kicked David Gerald. That wasn't what happened. I had no idea who any of these people were. But it was obvious I was with Phil, and David Gerald came up behind me and grabbed my waist. So I kicked backward and got him in the shin. It's like, hey, I don't let strangers grab me. No, that ain't happening. Oswald, that cracks me up, but I'm not reading it out loud. Okay, David Gerald's book is about an AI that's just coming into sapience. I hate when people add a Y to the end of a word that doesn't need it. Sapiency? Sapience is a perfectly good word. Why make up a new one? And I'm not bashing you, Freeman. I'm bashing the media that just love. They think they sound so educated when they add a Y on the end of every word. And the company wants to shut it down as a profit motive. Oh, so AI is just about to be born, to have a soul, or at least a mind. and they want to shut it down. Figures. We are not ruled by people, we're ruled by corporations. We are living in a fascist society all over the world. Not everywhere, but in most developed nations. Like we have to take this pill for cholesterol. We have to wear a mask. We have to whatever. So the corporations can make a profit on some product that we might or might not want. They see us all as consumers and markets, not as people. Oh, Freeman once bypassed a gaggle of some of the greatest writers and didn't even know who they were at Stony Brook University Icon Convention. Well, I found out who Norman Spinrad and why am I blanking on his name? Probably because I hate him. The editor of Dangerous Visions. Criminy. Harlan Ellison. I knew he was a scumbag before he wrote A Boy and His Dog. I found out real quick who they were because Phil knew them. And we're still at that convention in Los Angeles in 72. I think it was September. In a hallway, which didn't have many people there, Harlan Ellison was ragging on Norman Spinrad over nothing. And poor Norman was crying because he thought Harlan was his friend. So right from the get-go, I didn't even meet Harlan Ellison. I just saw him. Knew I wanted to avoid him. So the writers L. Freeman missed meeting were Ursula Le Guin, Paul Anderson, Andre Norton, Jack Williamson, and Fred Pohl. Wow. You really missed something. Had no idea who they were. Yeah, sapiency is okay, but it's a new word and we already have sapience, Freeman. So why add a Y to it and stick it in the dictionary? Yeah, Harlan Ellison. Got yelled at him. I'm so proud. Yes, Freeman. Well, Phil introduced me to Harlan Ellison a couple years later. We were at Cal State Fullerton before it became a university. And we were outside and just happened upon him. And I was very pregnant. So that'd be 1973, 1 year later, and not a couple years. And Harlan Ellison looked at me and said, "Well, you've sure got him trapped," implying that I got pregnant, so Phil would have to marry me. I didn't say anything. I just stayed silent. Let's handle it. if you want a plural, you add an S, not a Y. Okay, that's one of the ways in which the wealthy entitled elite who went to Ivy League schools are changing our language so they can feel superior to the rest of us, Freeman. So I'm not ragging on you for adding a Y. I'm ragging on the assholes who are deliberately turning our language into George Orwell's newspeak. Yeah, it's a shame he was such a jerk. Witta says he wrote some excellent fiction, except A Boy and His Dog. Yeah, Phil wanted a son in particular. That's one of the major reasons why he left Anne. Aside from the fact that she pointed a gun at him and ended up in the mental hospital because she also pointed it at the sheriff's deputy. But Anne had an abortion. It wasn't legal in California at the time, so she had to go to Oregon. And when she came back, she had the nerve to tell Phil it would have been a boy. And her reason for the abortion? Oh, well, we don't have enough money to raise another child. Phil has to make more money before I have another child. But she wouldn't use birth control. She wanted him to get snipped. Well, how's he going to have a son? He wanted a son so badly. Oh, Freeman says, had I been there as a 2-year-old with a 53-year-old mind from the future, I'd have told him, yeah, well, at least his equipment works. What's your excuse? Yeah, holy crap, Freeman. Well, Harlan Ellison apparently grew up on the streets in New York and had to be a scrapper to survive. At least that's his telling of his life story, and I have no reason to doubt it. But that does something to a person. You can leave the street, but the street never leaves you. Yeah. Oh, you were talking about Anne? I thought you were. Well, it applies equally well to Harlan. Well, the point was not that they couldn't afford another child. Her point was, you have to make more money. Trying to pretty much guilt and extort Phil into making more money. Oh, Freeman's a subway gunslinger from New York City, too. Okay. I'm actually not from Orange County, although I spent a few years there. I'm from Culver City. I lived in walking distance of the MGM studios, but they were shut down at the time. And we had moved away when Sony bought them. We were very close to the Watts riot of 1965, which is why my parents decided to move to Anaheim. We were frightened. Well, I can't really talk about being cheated, but yeah, Hollywood in particular is so dirty, so filthy, so evil. I mean, comedians, stand up comedians used to joke openly about the casting couch, knowing that it was true. Oh, the great blackout of 1977 in New York City. Yeah, and 9 months later, they had a lot of babies. Well, yeah, but um, Anne had two daughters from a previous marriage, and they were trust fund babies. They had money. So it was just Phil's daughter, Laura. Why not have a second child? Plenty of poor people in ghettos have 3 or 4 children and they find a way to take care of them. But Anne had a very luxurious lifestyle. And what she wanted Phil to do was stop writing and work in her jewelry business. She made jewelry and sold it through big department stores. And it was very good jewelry. But Phil was a writer, not a jeweler. Yeah, I think many of us have had issues with money or are just beginning to encounter issues with money, Freeman. Widow was born middle class and became upper middle class. But from the crash of '07, they say '08, but it really started in '07, kept moving down to the point where you struggle just to keep a roof over your head. Me too. Anne stole Phil from Cleo. She heard that there was a new writer in I guess it was San Rafael. Anyway, near enough to her farm in Marin County that she inherited from her first husband who died. And she just found out where they lived and went and knocked on the door and said, "Hi, I'm here to meet the new writer." And it went from there. And Phil said that he liked the idea of having children, and Cleo didn't want to have children until after she finished college. And he wasn't willing to wait, so he was willing to go off with Anna, and she was grabbing him. Oh boy, I can marry a writer. Her first husband was a poet who was wealthy because he inherited money. So she got herself a new husband, a little younger than she was, and a writer, but she had no respect for that scientific fiction that he wrote. But he had no success with his mainstream novels, couldn't even get them published, and some of them are real gems. Go figure. But when there wasn't enough money coming in to support her lifestyle with a fancy car and all kinds of various things, hmm, car out front, uh, and he couldn't even gain status by being a mainstream writer instead of a science fiction writer. She wanted him to quit writing and make jewelry in her shop where she made jewelry. Yeah, I also like how Phil's characters have interesting jobs. Well, not just fixing pots, healing pots, shaving tires, and writing. Oh, from the beginning, science fiction, yeah, it was a stigma. It was like it wasn't real literature. It was just for teenagers who couldn't get a date because they had acne. Teenage boys, mostly. Um, yeah. In the 60s, a movement began to call it, oh, speculative fiction instead of science fiction, and to upgrade the status of science fiction to a respectable genre. Well, it's still science fiction, but it's more and more respectable in part because of movies like 2001 and The Andromeda Strain. Freeman says his parents, your ex mother, okay, especially, and grandparents, labeled sci fi, calling them stupid joke books. Well, a lot of them were. Look at all the string of novels by Andre Norton. They are juvenile novels. They're coming of age novels for teenagers. That doesn't mean that they're inherently bad or not as good as serious fiction. Frankly, people enjoy, for example, Charles Dickens, David Copperfield, and Oliver Twist much more than these highly touted literary novels that, people will buy them to put on the bookshelf so they look like they're educated, but they don't actually read them. Science fiction is fiction that people read and enjoy. Yeah, ex mother. Well, I was going to talk about my dream. My ex mother, ex because she's dead, okay, was born on September 1st. Well, this year on September 2, the 2nd, I was taking an afternoon nap because I had a terrible sinus headache, and I had this dream. I was in my kitchen and this child, a neighbor's child who was um, speaking a little Spanish and a little English, and she had beautiful brown skin and black hair. So I would say she was probably Mexican and not, a lot more native than Spanish. She was with me. She came into the kitchen and said, "Your mother fell down in the backyard." So I grabbed my cell phone and started walking outside and calling 911. And I went to check on my mother, who had fallen down and couldn't get up. And the paramedic got there and was checking her out. And there was this lady in a floor-length dress with her gray hair all done up. And we were asking her how she felt and where it hurt. And I said, hey, wait a minute. Didn't you die 30 years ago? I'm trying to do the math in my head. I guess 25 years ago. And she said, no, I lived to be 93. And then she closed her eyes and my dream ended. Well, this year she would have been 93. So maybe she's been living in my head all these years and she's finally gone. I have fewer and fewer reasons to talk about the devil's sister who did this, that, and the other. She isn't part of my life and hasn't been since 1989. Oh, your ex-mother threw you out of the house as a graduation present when you finished high school. Well, they didn't have to throw me out. I was constantly finding ways to get out. Ugh! My poor family. My poor brothers. Rick died at age 50, and it might as well have been suicide. He left the hospital where he was there with a failing liver from alcoholism, and he died in an alley with a bottle of vodka in his hand from liver disease. We think he might have had AIDS, probably did. And my brother Steve, he's wonderful. No complaints. He's my big brother. But he was damaged emotionally, even more than I was, because I had him to protect me. He cared about me and looked out for me. No one was there to look out for him. So he's still in emotional pain that doesn't seem to go away. Okay, if I'm going to stay on any longer, I have to go recycle some coffee. So I'll be back in a minute. Dum-de-dum. Kitty, kitty, cat. Are you guys sweet and cute? Hello there, Tora. This is my main kitty. She's very big. Oh, look at the kitties. They're just so pretty. Kitty, kitty. Oh, they're pretty kitties. Are you pretty kitties? Yeah, you're pretty kitties. They're following me the way only a cat can do. They get in front of you and go real slow, and then they stop, but they're following you. Oh, Freeman's mother knew he wanted to get away. No, I'm not getting coffee, I'm recycling it. Going potty. Oh, tea is empty. Coffee's almost empty. But I have water. Yes. Kitty cats. What? All right. I wish I never had introduced these cats to treats. They're kitties. All right. Each of the kittens got 2. Tora got 5 because she's the main cat. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Life is a beach and I lost my towel. I'm going to put that on a coffee mug. Kitties. I discovered something the other day. I was out calling Tora because she was out and it was getting dark. And I'm going, Tora, Tora, Tora. And all 3 kittens came running. They think it's their name. But Tora took her sweet time. About a half hour later, she wandered into the house. Yeah, I don't remember where I first heard that. Life is a beach and I lost my towel. But it's a good one. I definitely want to put it on a t-shirt and a coffee. I don't have a good graphics program though. Those things cost money. I used to own one. I probably still have it somewhere on CDs, but it won't work in Windows 10. No, they want me to subscribe to a program where you pay them every month. I'm like, I can't do that. I can't afford it. Jeez. Even Word, simple word processing program. Oh no, you can't just buy the program. You have to subscribe, and you can only use it when you're on the internet anyway. Well, you can use it offline, but you need to get on the internet regularly for the updates and stuff. GIMP? Wita says GIMP is a free graphics program with a good reputation. I'll look into it. Thank you. As it stands, all I have is Paint and Paint 3D. GIMP.org. I will look into it. Just to put something on a coffee mug, paint will do, but t-shirts need a better graphics. Yeah, I have LibreOffice, Freeman, thank you. It makes all kinds of files, including doc and docx and whatever you want. So anyway, I get by with LibreOffice, but I'll definitely need a better graphics program. And I had some killer graphic, programs. I had Word, and I had the graphics program. I forget which one it was. Cannot use them on Windows 10. Oh, I got eye itchies. We've had very high pollen count lately. You see, we got a bunch of rain and all the flowers bloomed. And all the dead weeds came back to life. GIMP tutorials on YouTube. All right. I am definitely look into that. Hi, Grape Monkey. String cheese. Okay. Compatibility mode. Oh, that's where it pretends that it has DOS. I haven't tried it, but I'm just not all that motivated to try to find workarounds. Besides, I don't know where I put the CDs with the programs. Yeah, look for instructional videos first. Yep. People like to diss string cheese, Grape Monkey, because it has additives. I don't care. Sometimes it's cornstarch, sometimes it's actually sawdust for the string cheese not to kind of stick together the way mozzarella does naturally. Well, cornstarch won't hurt me, and sawdust won't hurt me. And I like string cheese, so there. Especially chopped up into small pieces and with hot soup poured over it. Onion soup or tomato soup. Any hot soup will do. Freeman wonders if anyone wrote up Phil as a GURPS character in their Who's Who section of the forums. I don't know what a GURP is. I do know that he was in some editions of Who's Who. I'm in several editions of Who's Who. One is American high school students. One is American university professors. One is American college students. It's a scam. They put those books together to sell the books to people who are listed in them. They're just selling the books. It doesn't really up your image any to be in a Who's Who book. Oh well. It's just vanity. You can put the book in a prominent place on your bookshelf. I don't know where those books went. I have them somewhere. Okay, generic universal role playing system. Oh, I wonder if he could be a character in a role playing system. Would have fell for a similar scam as a teenager. They used people's poetry to sell them books, but she submitted poetry and they say it's in there. Yeah, one time I actually sold a poem, and the prize was a coffee mug with the name of the publisher on it. Another time I got 75 cents for a poem, and some of the places I submitted my poetry to gave me a free copy of the book. And I was too poor to buy the book. So it was good when they gave me a free copy. And I kind of reconnected with one of my brother's old friends because he and I had poems in the same book. And because by then we were submitting them online, not on paper and ink, their algorithm thought my last name was a bad word. So I had to use my maiden name, and that's how he knew it was me. Freeman was selected to be entered into the high school version, and he turned it down. None of the honors kids were invited, so he thought it was a scam. Yes, it is a scam. And I didn't enter it. My school entered me. I was their number one student, mainly because I showed up and did the work, didn't mess around. Anyway, I won a merit scholarship that might as well have been a scam. It was the Press Club of Los Angeles. I won third place, $200. And because I won that, my scholarship at Chapman College was reduced by $200. And I didn't know that. I had already spent the $200 to buy a camera. I was interested in photojournalism. I said, what? Why'd I bother to do all the work of earning a merit scholarship? Writing an essay and being interviewed and all that. I did get a free dinner out of it. You know, the usual catered dinner, rubber chicken and some potatoes. And something green. Well, there was a little dinner salad with it. But why did I do all that work just to come out zero? That's ridiculous. If I had done that much work on a job that paid me, it would not have come out of my scholarship. Overall, Chapman did right by me. As an undergraduate, I was paying $600 per term to be a full-time student. And even in the 1980s, that was cheap. But it was not a free ride. And of course, I did not stay in the dorm. I had a child and all that. When I was a grad student, I think I was paying $900 a term, which is also awesome. I finished that around 1990, I think, 90 or 91. Oh, I can check that. I found my diploma. Let me get it. Cowabunga. Now, I graduated from Chapman College, and they sent me a new diploma that says Chapman University. Now, those are not free, but one of my fellow students, knowing that I was poor, bought one for me. All right. Given this month of August 1990. The frame has a lot of dirt on it. Cowabunga. I don't think you can see that very well. You can read the top where it says Chapman College. Anyway, my dad got this framed for me. When I received it, I went to his office. He was an accountant, and I asked him to get it framed for me, and he said yes. Master of Arts in English Literature. I suppose I should hang it up instead of sticking it in a dark corner. Yes, Freeman, rubber chicken over potatoes with green beans. Yeah, and a tiny dinner salad. But it was free. All I had to do was drive to Los Angeles in my wreck of a car. I think it was the Ford Maverick that I bought used for $900. And once again, even in the 80s, that was not much money for a car. Tora, quit shredding my chair. Come on, quit that. Oh, kitty. Yeah, I know my diploma's in your way. There you go. Here. Tora, more treats? Oh, I think she wants OUT, and I can't say the word. She knows what it means. I will open the entrance and exit device when I'm off the line, after I finish my live stream. Is this a podcast? I don't know. We're well over 2 hours. Anyway, I took my son with me to the ceremony where they had the dinner, so he got a meal too. Do I remember Philip K. Dick, A Day in the Afterlife? Yes. It was not the best production. They had the nerve when they interviewed me to ask what Phil ate for breakfast. I had a bad attitude. I said, Rice Krispies, because I don't cook. It wasn't strictly speaking true. I could make bacon and eggs and often did. but I didn't like their line of questioning. They had wanted to film me in my kitchen. And I didn't want to tell them that I was homeless and living in my car while working two jobs under Reaganomics. Well, they didn't ask me anything intellectual. It was just fluffy stuff. And I knew that their documentary was going to have people actually talking about his writing and his thoughts and his career. Oh, and what was it like to live with a famous author? I don't know, ask Phil. I know I'm not famous, but I just had a bad attitude. I don't know. I didn't know who he was. I was not a science fiction fan. Well, they did film me in the dining hall of the school cafeteria. Yes, I was homeless for 2 years. I lived in my Honda Accord, my car. Once a week, I rented a hotel room so I could have a bath and sleep in a real bed. That's funny, Freeman. Um, yeah, now I have a home and no car. Oh, I was fortunate on the renew your tags thing. I had a post office box that I had had for years. I got my mail at the post office box. So they sent my tags for my car to the box. And I kept up the insurance and the maintenance and everything. That was a good little car. You know, not fancy, not luxurious, but really nice. Anyway, my son, who was just barely 18 and did not have a high school diploma, made a baby that he couldn't afford, and the estate wasn't paying him enough. They really were not making a lot of money. So a lot of the money I earned went to him, but so I just couldn't save up the deposits on an apartment. So I finally found a room to rent. Stayed there for a couple of years, and that was with some nice people. So it worked out well. And I had my own door to the outside. I didn't have to walk through their living room to go in and out. Well, I'm glad you liked the day in the afterlife. It isn't that terribly bad. It's just that the way they treated me, they told me to meet them at the local coffee shop. And they were all ticked off because I would not let them film me in my kitchen. So they gave me a place and a time, and when I showed up, they had finished eating. I didn't even get to sit down and have a cup of coffee with them. Oh, and they paid $100 and they handed it to me as if they were dropping cat poop on cat litter or cat litter on cat poop. I did like the cameraman. I asked him, is that camera a Bolex? And he said, no, it's, and I'm blank on the name brand, but it was the Japanese brand that they considered even better than a Bolex. And they didn't want me to turn my head at all. They wanted a static shot from an angle off to the side. Um, and they complained every time I turned my head. If I heard a sound, I'd turn that way or that way. Don't do that. Hold still. Yeah, I guess their video isn't that bad, but they were really bad to me. And I had a bad attitude because of their constant pushing to film me in my kitchen. I never did tell them I can't, I'm homeless. I had a key to the restroom at work, which was a good thing. But, 6 days a week I was sleeping in my car. Well, I was a nobody who just happened to be married to him, but I treat everybody better than that. Even people I don't like get better treatment. Yeah, they should have rented a motel room with an efficiency kitchen to film it there. Well, they didn't know I was homeless and I wasn't telling. None of their business. And I was working 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I taught at Chapman University's satellite campuses all over the place. And I even taught a course at National University. And once I was settled down and in a studio apartment, I also taught at the local junior college in Riverside. Two classes in English 1A, composition. Only they call it, what do they call it? They have a fancy name for it that I always associate with speaking, public speaking, not writing. I forgot the word. It's composition. Jimmy Seville. I gotta look him up. I know the name, but I can't make a connection. Okay. Jimmy Seville. Oh, yeah. Oh, sexual abuse scandal. Oh my God. I don't want to read that. I'm not reading that. Freeman says, gee, you'd have thought that whoever those aliens were who dropped you off on Earth would have at least left you a trust fund to take care of basic expenses. Yeah, well, what can I tell you? I inherited enough from Granny. What would a third, no, a fourth of what would have gone to our mother? Keep counting 3 children. Mom had 4. But Mom had died before Granny. Enough for a down payment on a house. That's it. Got nothing from Dad's estate. His second wife had bad Alzheimer's and went into a care home, so all of the resources he left behind went for her care, and that's okay. She was a good wife to him, and if she had not forced him to go to the emergency room, he would have died of a heart attack 30 years sooner. So, even though I didn't really like Nita, she was good for Dad. I introduced them after Mom left Dad. Oh boy. So anyway, stop it, Tora. Don't paw my leg, it hurts. Even with a soft paw, after the 6th tap, it starts hurting. So anyway, apparently, Mom had life insurance from her credit union. So, God, stop it. When my son was still a minor child, I got $5,000. I have no memory of receiving it. So either I got it and forgot, or someone stole my mail and cashed my check. I don't know which happened. Things were crazy in that time. That was when we were witnesses in a home invasion and had to leave, not only leave town, leave the whole county, all of Orange County, in a hurry. And so I don't know. In the middle of that, Mom died, probably suicide. After 2 autopsies or postmortems or whatever, the coroner could not decide what killed her. Her heart quit beating, but they couldn't figure out why. She didn't have heart disease. So we're pretty sure that she took some kind of poison, and they simply didn't find the poison when they analyzed her blood. But she did have methamphetamine in her system, and it was not prescribed for her. Apparently, she was stealing medications from her patients at the state hospital. Methamphetamine explains a great deal of her behavior. So anyway, life was exciting, but not in a good way. My son wanted a horse, so I got him one. But then he got a motorcycle, so the horse just hung out in the backyard with the dogs until he gave the horse to a girl. Oh, yeah, Freeman. Your girlfriend was murdered, and the police wanted to call it suicide, but when you raised the roof about it, they just put it down as an accident. Yeah, has kept us safe from the worst that could happen. But fiancé, sweetheart, wow, that's sad. Very sad. Tora, quit. I'm going to have to get off the line soon and let the cats OUT. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I understand, Freeman, but I'm not commenting. Uh, Time to get some food into my belly and start the day. Tora agrees. Yeah, well, you hop up on me, you have to say hi to your adoring fans. Yeah. Oh, you're heavy, Tora. You weigh a freaking ton. Okay, let's call it a day. Ah! Aw, poor Freeman. Schade. That's German for shame or sorry or hurt. If you, for example, hurt your hand on a hot stove, is tut mir leid or is tut mir schade? What are you doing? No, you don't. Patches wants to shred the paper backing on my diploma. Not happening, kid. Maybe that's why I shoved it into a dark corner. Come here, you. Make a guest appearance. Yeah. All spade won't make kittens. Ah! Wiggle worm. Purring like crazy. Yes, she's a kitty cat. Yeah. See? She likes that. You two twins don't think you like being petted. Yes, get off of me. Time to öffne die Tür. Open the door. Cute kitties. Well, that's a good sign off. A couple of kitties. Let's see if I can get the twins on camera together. Sort of. There's a lot of glare, but see, usually you see only one of these two. There really are two of them. Okay, it's time for thank you all for listening and have a great day. And we'll catch you again sometime. The water's empty again.